Look, I mean, it's glib to say I feel I know all about your teenage years.
Yeah.
For the very thing I've just said, that then I'm suddenly saying, writers can make stuff up, but I think that you've just written down everything you did for Derry Girls. Is it a bit like you, or is it not really like you, those?
Yeah, I think I would say loosely inspired by my teenage years, my family, my friends, but like anything, you take the bits that are going to work and stick them together and pull a character this way or that way, or a situation. Like a lot of the very first ideas might be real, but then you push it so far and they're burning down a chip shop or whatever, because it needs to, like, every episode needs to have a pickle, I call it, like what's the big pickle of each episode, and you push that as far as you can. So we didn't there was no killing nuns or anything, but we might have been in detention type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that we'll talk about Derry Girls now. I wasn't going to talk about it straight away, but let's talk about it straight away. And then talk about nothing else. I'm a massive fan of it, and I think the writing's so fantastic, but the characters are so amazing, and it would sort of be impossible that all of those people were real and all together, because it's so well put together. But what I love about it is there's not really any character in there that you don't like, or that you don't care about, or that you don't actually feel for, which I think is quite, most people in a sitcom put in like a baddie.
Yeah, oh, that's lovely. I think you don't want to have the bit where everybody makes the cup of tea, where here this bit, I never wanted that. So I really tried to make everyone have a thing that was funny in its own right. And I think that was just a good, it was just a good principle, really, because it just meant you got more jokes as well, if you really thought about everybody. Yeah. Everyone has in their mind is the lead character their sitcom. Do you know what I mean? Like Uncle Colin could have a different sitcom.
He definitely could and should. And must. But it is, it is. I mean, the gang are fantastic, and it's such a well-balanced gang, but it is literally every person who comes in, you just feel affection for them. And I know it wasn't your original intention to set it in the 90s, right? You were going to make it current.
No, I was going to try and make it modern, contemporary, but that felt wrong for loads of reasons. I never attempted the contemporary version, because by the time I'd gone to script, we'd discussed it, and I decided to give that a crack, and it just worked. It felt very natural, and it actually felt like I've said this a lot, I avoided writing about the Troubles, and I was so bored. It was our whole lives, and it was everywhere. And I thought, I remember saying to myself when I was a teenager, I'll never write about that. But the minute I did, there was lots I had to say. I found lots of stuff that I felt was really stupid at the time, or funny, or
Yeah. Well, but it's very much in the background, isn't it? And then will suddenly spring to the foreground. Yeah. But it's you forget about it. It's about family. It's about adolescence. It's about in this unusual situation. But I guess things like the bomb on the bridge and not being able to get across to get the tanning done.
Yeah, I mean
it just makes it so human and real.
Yeah, and that feels like one of the least surreal jokes in it. Do you know what I mean? I remember people getting it became just a nuisance.
Yeah.
I remember being in I've spoken about this before too, being in a queue for a shop with my mum when I was young, and there was a bomb scare, and she just had all her shit to do, and she was trying to get her stuff rung through before we got it was, it just was that day to day.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I think it's, for most people in England, I think certainly, maybe most of the mainland, it's, they don't know about what was going on in Northern Ireland, I think. So I feel this is more educational than anything that's been put out in England, I think, for the English people, and it really brings home what it means. I'm sort of trying to imagine what it means. I mean, these people will be able to tell me, I suppose, but what it means, it must mean so much more for the people here.
Well, we get a lot of lovely feedback about it, and it's great, because the one thing about people from here, and I love being from here, and I love here, is they don't hold back if they don't like something. And you would really they'd be pissed off.
Yeah.
So I knew I was taking a risk writing it because, I didn't want to. I didn't. It's a big responsibility, I guess, as well. And I don't think there'd really been a sitcom like that about that time before. I don't know. It just, there's a lot of, and now there's a lot of love for it, which is amazing.
Yeah. No, I'm sure. And it's, it is that mix. I mean, it's finding, I think with comedy, when you can find like a serious situation, even a deadly situation, even a tragic situation, and still find the laughs around it without laughing at, it's not about, often people get upset about comedy thinking you're joking about something grave, but it really isn't that. It's finding the life and the humanity around this,
and it's the line you walk, isn't it? It's how you do that. And I think it's really about, and I learned this as I was writing. I think comedy, sitcoms, it's about a group of people you want to be with, go through things with, and that you start, and it's why when people say Derry Girls educated them about certain elements of Northern Irish history, it's because it can't be preachy. You remember something that's funny, and I think before a lot of it had just been people shouting at each other on the TV,
Yeah. I do. Well, I generally think that this is the kind. I'm sure some history teachers and lazy ones just put it on for the class, but they absolutely should because because it is comedy is a great way to you remember things. You remember all the things that happened in this and all the but equally it gives you that human element and I think even if it wasn't set in Derry. The story of the characters and the fact it's about the stupidity of adolescence rather than about sexy 16-year-olds.
I really don't want to do that. I hate that, and I'm allergic to that. Like, and also that another thing was that boys were always the one having the fun, and it's like there was always this sort of view like teenage boys are so crazy and funny, and the girls are always the one pulling them on the line, or they never got any of the big gags on. And in my experience, I went to a convent school, very much like the one on the show, and they were the funniest people I ever knew, those older girls, and they were just the rudest, and I hadn't really seen that either, and I just felt like I wanted that I remember saying to my producers, like, our girls are going to be the ones that get to do all the jokes and all the bad things and get into trouble. So I think it was a lot of that. I think a lot of women responded to it because they saw no matter where they're from, they saw their friends.
Yes. Yeah. And again, I think even the convent thing is that, that's got in drama and, it's got such a sort of bad rap. It's always all bad nuns, burying babies in the back garden.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we can laugh about it now. But it is, and Sister George Michael is an interesting character, but you definitely are on her side.
Of course, there is all that, and I'm not a fan of a lot of it. But there was this other side, the school I went to, where they really cared about your education. It was working class girls. They were trying to get them. They were trying to push them over that line and make them career women, and so I think they really give a shit about us as well. So I also had affection for some. I thought they were awful at the time. I was so scared of them, but I did have that affection for them looking back. And you just go, God, they were just trying to get us, to pass these exams to get into university.
Yeah, and it's the second sitcom with a character called George Michael in it, which is Arrested Development has that as well, which is another very good sitcom. So that is my tip for writing a good sitcom. Stick that in. Look, it's had so many accolades. The mural is amazing, of course, that you talked about. So there's out of all these incredible and sometimes partisan, shall we say, murals around. Sometimes they're quite political. I'd go as far as saying so to have the cast up on there is such. I mean, again, and it's such the spirit of the program, and
it's very cool. Because where it is in Derry as well, it's bang in the centre of the town. So the idea that it always takes me by surprise, and you're just walking through, and there's just these 5 idiots, you know, just staring at you, and it's just lovely, yeah.
And you've been on The Simpsons?
Yes, that was the most exciting thing for me. I couldn't believe that, yeah.
So
yeah.
what's the, it's a sort of reference rather than...
Yeah, it's what they did, they called an ice cream parlour Derry Girls ice cream, but inside the uniforms are our school uniform as well.
Right.
And like I was then talking to the writers, and they were saying they all watch it and they're all so I was just blown away by that. I just could not believe that happened.
You're going to get a cameo in the future series?
Oh, I don't think so. But, yeah.